The session is going to be very much interesting as we have been at the receival of products and services at all points in our lives. So it has become very imperative for the utilities to design their strategies as customer-centric, because in this digital era, it is very difficult to maintain a consistent customer image and also the brand image. So during the pandemic, we have observed how can customers be better served through the digital platforms by enabling different supply chain components. So as we have observed that billing and payments have largely become digital, but what can be the other enablers towards driving this digitalization trend towards digital transformation so that we achieve this utility of the future? To know this, I would like to invite our distinguished speaker today on the stage. So Mr. Kapil Mohan is not available due to an emergency at his office. So I would like to first invite Mr. Anant Venkateshwaran, who is going to be moderator for this session. Mr. Anant Venkateshwaran. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Elad Shaviv on the stage. He is Director, Business Development, Israel Electricity Corporation. Next, Mr. Manoj Salvi, CEO, Tata Power Ajmer Distribution Limited. I would request the audience to welcome them with a huge round of applause. So next is Ms. Anjali Vishwakarma. She is Executive Engineer, MPPK VVCL. Mr. Divyesh Kumar Sharma, Senior Associate Director, Energy and Utilities, RTI International, India. Next, Akilur Rahman will be joining us a bit late. Mr. George Hunt, Chief Strategy Officer, Smart Energy Water. Mr. Sabit Sachi Patnaik, Director, Regulatory Affairs and Market Development, Oracle, India. So I'll skip this. I'll be introducing Mr. Anant Venkateshwaran a bit late because he's not here. Mr. Elad Shaviv is a Director of Business Development, Israel Electricity Corporation. As the Head of Business Development at the Israel Electric Corporation, Elad Shaviv oversees the company's efforts in both global and local business diversification. So one of Mr. Shaviv's main areas of focus is the development of new service offerings at the supporting power utilities in their transition towards utility of the future. So with this, I would also request Mr. Anant Venkateshwaran to join us on stage. He is advisor, ISGF and Hitachi Energy. He is an industry professional with more than 20 years of experience in the energy and utility sector. He has extensive expertise in business, financial, regulatory, policy, operations, and technology aspects of the industry. He serves on various technical standards, advisory and tutorial committees, and is a teacher, presenter, panelist, moderator, and speaker at the international avenues. Now going forward, we have Mr. Manoj Salvi, CEO, Tata Power Ajmer Distribution Limited. He has started his career with Tata Power Mumbai. He was instrumental in the operation and maintenance, automation of old hydro assets at Tata Power Hydro Generating Station and Tata Power Mumbai Distribution Commercial Function. He also contributed at Tata Power Delhi Distribution in Commercial Excellence Function and Tata Power Northern Odisha Distribution Limited. Ms. Anjali Vishwakarma is an executive engineer with MPPK VVCL. She is in charge of new LTMT division. She is responsible for installation, maintenance, and operation on all the high-value consumers. Mr. Divyesh Kumar Sharma is Associate Director, Energy, RTI, India. He is having 18+ years of experience in distribution reforms, business strategies, and sector transformation practices. Divyesh assisted government distribution companies in the transaction and regulatory and advisory perspectives. Mr. Akilur Rahman, who will be joining us a bit late, so I'll be introducing him then only. So going forward, we have Mr. George Hunt. He is Chief Strategy Officer, Smart Energy Water. He is a fellow of the British Computer Society with over 30 years of experience leading business transformation programs and large technology teams across various sectors, including utilities, energy, government, and pharmaceutical, manufacturing, and chemicals. He is currently the Chief Strategy Officer at Smart Energy Water. So we have with us Sabyasachi Patnaik. He is Director, Regulatory Affairs and Market Development at Oracle India. So O-Power, that is developed by Oracle, is responsible for Oracle's utility solutions and shaping regulatory and legislative policy that advances utility investment in technology innovation. He has more than 25 plus years of experience in the electricity and energy sector. So now I would like to invite our first speaker. Yeah, so I will basically be inviting our moderator, Mr. Anant Venkateshwaran, who will be taking it up further. With the speakers, our first presentations will be from. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Anant.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this session on a very important topic for all of us. As has been stated, the customer experience in the digital age. And the key discussion points have been covered, so I'm not going to go ahead and repeat it and go over this whole thing all over again. But having been in the industry for 25 plus years, if I ask someone a few years ago, hey, what kind of customers do you have? Tell me what are the different segments of customers. And the reply came, we got two kinds of customers, those that pay and those that don't. That is, in many ways, where we started, right? Because at the end of the day, the industry revolves around making sure that everyone pays, right? There's also a saying by a very famous person that problems cannot be solved with the same mindset that created them, right? So we have to be constantly thinking anew, thinking afresh, thinking about what is the core problem, and more importantly, what is the way to solve the problem. And I think in the space of customer engagement, a lot has been done. In fact, I was at a distribution utility meet in November in my home state of Odisha. And I'm from Rourkela, by the way. And one of the things that I observed was when some of the folks from the local utility in Odisha presented all the engagements that they have been doing with their customers in terms of how they are improving the overall customer experience, right, in the customer lifespan, so to speak. But I was struck by one thing. And what I was struck by was that in the space of a few years, not only India, but across the world, customers are slowly evolving. And I'm going to say the word slow because we're not there yet. From being a ratepayer, right, as they were always called, right? Whether you're a water utility or electric utility or a gas utility, it doesn't matter. From a ratepayer to a fully engaged customer. And I'm saying we're not there yet is because we are in phases. Even today, I think some of the customers are fully engaged. Some of the customers are active participants. Some of the customers are interested observers. And some of them are very event-driven and reactive. It's no longer whether I have power or not, whether I have power to charge my phone or not. If this doesn't work, all hell breaks loose, right? So I was privileged to be part of an effort with one of the largest utilities in the United States in an exercise on developing reference architectures and standards across different areas, and one of the areas was customer. And the utility aptly called it customer moments that really matter, right? And I think As I think about the customer, and I think about the life cycle of what a customer expects from the utility, in a very simple way, we can simplify the whole thing and basically say, customers expect the utilities, expect not to be surprised. That is what nobody likes. But if you break it down further into some of the business processes, the move in, move outs, customers expect that to go smooth, right? Customers expect to receive a bill on time, and preferably the more detailed and informed the bill is, the better. My utility, Xcel Energy, sends me a bill. I'm based in Denver, Colorado. Sends me a bill that tells me every month, not only what my consumption is, where I stand from a percentile with respect to my subdivision and my town, right? But I also expect my customer not just to send me a bill, but to give me options on how to pay the bill, right? The more options they give me, the more I pay. And there was a gentleman from South Africa that I met with yesterday. And South Africa has mastered the art of prepay, and we all know that, right? Especially started with water, Johannesburg, right? But the customers also expect information to be shared with them. So I was speaking with the C-level staff for a local utility in Western United States, and I'm not going to name who it is for obvious reasons, but they had a massive storm come through, and unfortunately in this particular case they had wave after wave after wave of storms come through. And what essentially happened is, the first thing that it impacted was the portal where the customers would go in to look at their outage information. Guess what happened? Massive storm comes through, massive outages, and the outage screen freezes and the customers cannot see what's going on for hours. So what does the utility start doing? The utility slowly starts peeling off layer over layer of things that have been built on top of that portal. And we know exactly what it means. And this is something we covered yesterday. Rather than cybersecurity by design, this is cybersecurity by built on top of one on top of the other. Patches, cybersecurity, all those things. So they had to technically remove all those layers to get to the core of this outage portal, and for a while they were exposed, right? So customers want to know when there is an outage. Preferably, they want to know what is the ETR for restoration of the outage. And last but not the least, they want to know how long they will be out in a fairly consistent manner. And then they also want to know how I can manage my energy use. Any more customers are becoming prosumers. They're wanting to learn more about how they can use their energies in a better, faster, smarter, more effective way so that they can save money for themselves. And we were talking about 4 cents per kilowatt hour and 3 cents per kilowatt hour, and now my personal electric bill and gas bill combined has gone pretty high, and so we're concerned. And that's probably because we hear gas heating and gas prices have shot up. Customers also want to understand preferences. What are my preferences, right? There are different ways the utility engages the customer: email, text messages, portals, social media, and the utility also get customer feedback in those channels. And you want to know what are the customer's challenges and preferences and what is their preferred mode of communication. And last but not the least, what really drives them and motivates them. And the one big thing, the elephant in the room, how does a utility listen to the customer? A listening utility is a more successful utility, right? So as we embark on this session, and I've taken some notes on what we're going to cover this time, there's a lot of topics to cover. And I've briefly browsed through your presentations, and I ask that we keep the presentation to less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 to 7 minutes ideally, right? Just as I have, right? And so we have some time in the end to actually go through and have a discussion and a conversation about it, right? So with that, I'll just say one thing and I'll start, which is the whole concept of digitalization. Digitalization is impacting every aspect of the utility life cycle, and having done the digital roadmap for utilities, I can say very clearly that leveraging data as a most valuable asset, both inside the customer premises and outside, is important. But in this digital era, what is also important is respecting the customer's privacy, respecting the customer's data, the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how of how customer data is accessed. Customers care about it, right? So hopefully we'll hear from our experts, and we'll conclude later. So I will start with Mr. Elad. So please join us, and we'll go in a sequential order. Less than 10 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, hopefully. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you see that I'm starting to take more, just let me know, okay? Okay. Okay, thank you very much, and glad to be here. Been a few years, especially due to COVID, that I haven't been in India, and I really like to be here, and glad for the opportunity to speak over here. So I think that we all know customers are the most important piece of any business. So certainly I think this is a very important topic here. And when we talk about digital, what the digital transformation relates to customers, I think that the digital platform presents three main topics. One is that it is very open, it converges different elements, and it allows for customization. And we were not really used to that in the power utility world. So the way that we look at it, so I was presented before, and I'm from the Israeli Electric Corporation, which is the power utility of Israel. We have only a single power utility. And I'm heading the business development team, and what we are doing, we work with utilities around the world about migrating to the utility of the future. And when we talk about the customer engagement, we are looking about not what we need to do, but what we want to do. And I would like to take what was said just a few minutes ago a bit further, because when we are talking about customer expectations, I think that customer expectation at the digital age has completely changed. And we still used to look at customer expectations of us as a power utility. Now think about what are the expectations from a power utility. They are all around the negative implications of what we provide. If we turn on the light, no one thinks, oh, the light is on. People think about outages, they think about poor quality, they think about the billing, about the tariffs. All the expectations are about negative things that they get. We are after lunch, just a quick exercise. How many people here really like the income tax authority, by a show of hands? No one likes them, right? Because it's basically they're working for us, but we don't like them. So we need to change the way that we think about it. And it's, again, not about what we need to do, what we want to do, because we want to convert from being the one that avoid negative service to one that provides valuable services to customers. And we have the ability to do that, provide all kinds of value-added services. Think about mobile operators. We don't think anymore today about who provides us with good audio quality. We think about so many other things. You come to the hotel, you have shops, you have spa, you have a conference. All those are not a typical service of a hotel. And that's what we need to look at. And today, people are not talking anymore about customer service, but it's customer experience. And actually, according to a recent study by Salesforce.com, they found out that 80% of customers value their experience the same as they value the service that they get. Okay, that is so important to think about it. So experience is everything. And this is how we need to think about it. Now, providing a customer experience only about providing electricity, it's very tough. But we can wrap it up with a lot of other things that would provide some value to customers. And today they have so many options. So today most customers get their power from the utilities, but we start to see retailers becoming their suppliers. And then we need to start and think who are actually would be our future customers. Would it be really the residential, the businesses, or the suppliers that will just buy from us? Now I said all the time that we need to see we need to do what we want, not what we have to do, because eventually, if our customers would become some sort of wholesalers that would provide electricity as a value-added service to customers, then utilities will continue to remain, but they will remain as sort of the plumbers of the world. Okay, just providing the basic infrastructure, and the margins can't be very high on those. And as a business, we want to reach out for the higher margins. The higher margins comes with experience, with the customer experience that we can provide. And that's what we have to aspire for. So we certainly need to understand what customers want. We need to continuously assess and validate what are their expectations, and not what are their expectations from us as a power utility. What do they want in their life that we can provide them with? If we would go today and do some sort of a questionnaire, of course they would say we want electricity, we want it cheap, we want it available, but we don't have to understand that. We need to look on different industries. Are we competing with Google? Are we competing with Uber? I don't know with whom do we compete, because Google is entering the energy world. Transportation companies are entering the energy world. Amazon is entering, IKEA is entering the energy world. But we typically, as power utilities, don't look on those spaces. So we need, as they're looking in our space, we need to look at their space and then see what customers want that we can provide them with, that we can provide it as added value. Now, once we understand that, even if we find out that we are able to do it, we need to evaluate if our internal workforce is adequate enough to provide what we want to provide to customers. And that's both from a technical perspective and from a serviceable DNA perspective. The old meter readers are not the same one that are reading smart meters today. And this is just a very, very simple example. So we need to make sure that, first of all, we have the adequate workforce that can provide it. We need to evaluate also that the customers understand how to get all the services that we provide them with. For example, we need to ensure that we can meet customers where they want and how they want it. This is something very different than what we were used to do. We were sending bills, and we feel today that maybe if we are providing easier bills or easier access, or maybe as the speaker before me mentioned, more information about outages. Yes, this is great, but this is continuously just looking on the older world where we provide some better service on the negative impact. So we need to empower customers. That's what they are looking for. That's what they are getting all the time. Think about all the new services of the flattened world, Uber, Airbnb, the Googles, ChatGPT today, all of them empower customers. Utility does not empower customers today. We need to empower customers. We need to communicate with them because they need to start and look at the power utilities differently than they have looked beforehand. We need to ensure that we provide them with value-added services at very different services than what we were used to do. We need to ensure that we can support it, because there is nothing worse than doing all the work and eventually find out that our own workforce can't really provide what we are looking for at the digital age. And we need to ensure that the customers know how to get it. And if we are able to do that, I think that it would be for the benefits of everyone. It will be for the benefits of the nation or the general market, because if we provide different services, eventually the electricity tariff can go down. The service can be improved. So on the baseline, you get a better quality of electricity at a lower cost. But then also customers are being empowered, utilities are being empowered, and the whole market gets actually better service. So I hope I met my time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shaviv. I had the privilege of going to Israel Electric Company when Mr. Moshe was around and did workshops on customer and demand response with them. So very interesting insights, and thank you so much for sharing them. I'd like to ask Mr. Manoj Salvi, if you would please present to us and share your thoughts with us.
Good afternoon. You're putting up presentation? Anyway, till the time presentation is put up, Anandji has covered the entire subject, in such a brief manner that he has not left anything for me to say. Anyway, but few things. He said we had segmentation of paying and non-paying. I had an opportunity to work for Mumbai, Delhi, Orissa, and now in Ajmer. So I think fairly I am covering the distribution sector. I had experience in this area to be in touch with consumer. In most of the part of the country, still segmentation remains same. And for utility, it's a concern how to collect the revenue, which they are supposed to get, theft apart. Then he talked about all customer expectation. He talked about detailed billing. Again, I do not agree with you. People only look at amount, due date or discount date. And in their mind, what happens? What was my last bill? If it is 50% more, he will say, my bill has gone up, utility has messed up. That's the way our people think. So these are the insights which utility need to understand while dealing with high resistance complaint. How does customer think? He talked about outage info. Yes, people do not expect surprises. Yes, they want to be informed, well informed. Today again the segmentation remains high revenue wala say customer and the normal. While as a utility we have a lot of studies done and we have let's say express consumer in TPDDL, Delhi, then the key customer, then the high revenue based customer, then even if we have a category for Jhugi Chhopdi in Delhi, and we have different approaches, but again, mota high revenue base and low revenue base. We are in transition stage. As far as I feel, we are in transition stage from this current scenario to future which we expect it to be. So I'll just start my presentation, take maybe 7 minutes. I don't know if the people who are of my age would remember this fellow, Musad Dilal. And there was a series on Sub TV, I suppose, Office. So he goes to various offices and it was a very comedy series and he faced with lot of actual experiences converted into drama very nicely. So I always, when I think of utility and when I think of when I experience consumers in my centers, I think of this fellow. What are common issues? There are only 4 to 5 issues which a utility customer faces. When he wants a connection, our regulations are so good that there are so many interpretations to be made and customer gets frustrated. Once he gets a meter, then comes bill, then again timely billing as you said, correct accurate billing, because there's something called tabletop reading. This is a term which I learned in Odisha. So accurate billing, what we require. He needs to pay. So different payment methodologies, smooth payment methodology. He pays today and is not accounted for and next bill he gets DPC, he gets frustrated. Obviously meter related, meter faulty, etc., etc. But the most important one was unreliable or supply interruption. So if you take care of these 4 to 5 issues proactively, things become simple. Today we are faced with the Amazons of the world or Flipkarts, and they are given a service to such a level, even in the remotest part of the country. And this is what is making my customer aware, what can I get? So what are these expectations? Obviously, a quality service or a quality product which he is buying. Yes, he wants complete transparency. When he visits our office for a new connection, as he said, we must tell him what exactly, where does his case fits into, and what he needs to do to get a connection in the minimum possible cost. Today the scenario is ulta. People try to tell him कि कितना ज़्यादा आपको पैसा लगेगा, and then so forth and so forth. He definitely seeks knowledge, information about the product, about other things which are going around. He is shifting from conventional stores to ecosystem. What does it mean? I mean, my customer, utility customer, only expects the electricity, but he wants me to attend to his problems and to his MCB also, beyond the meter. If you go to a high revenue based customer, industrial or commercial, those who are kind of small scale or medium scale, they are not having good knowledge about our equipments. So they expect me to take care of them. This is what he is expecting. He doesn't want to type or read. There's a new thing which is coming up, he wants to see or hear. So AI ML comes in picture. And of course, he expects me to respond to his need proactively. Because he knows I got his complete data with me. And then I can predict certain things and tell him well in advance. भाई समर आ रहा है, आपका कंजम्पशन पे ध्यान रखो. या if you go to the industrial customer, he knows I have got AMR put in. So if my PF is crossing, my MDI is crossing where I'm going to be penalized, please tell me in advance. He expects me. So these are all normal things which he expects. Second set of expectation is when he faces with issues. What does he expect? Issue आने के बाद क्या सोचता है? He wants a personal attention. How can we give him personal attention? ऐसा नहीं कि मैंने किधर उसको IVR में 1, 2, 3, 4 में छोड़ दिया and बोल दिया. He wants personal attention. He wants personal feedback. He may not talk to a person, but he wants a personal feedback. He wants very quick response and quality resolution. ऐसा नहीं कि सुन लिया और हमने भी बढ़ गया उसके ऊपर. Why is it not changing? Yeah. Now he is not expecting me to, one telephone number where TO बोलते हैं, telephone operator we used to call him earlier days. So एक number दिया, मैंने phone किया, complaint किया, and then he is all no. He wants multiple channels of connectivity. एक call center है, या कोई push pull SMS है, या कोई WhatsApp है, या social media है, you have web portal. So he wants multiple channels of connectivity, so that whenever he needs, he can get it right away. He doesn't have to wait. While he operates all these, channels, he expects a low effort. Doesn't want to, type in, search CA number, type in CA number, type in area. No. भाई मेरा phone से phone जा रहा है भाई. You must recognize me. Low effort. Even if mobile is there, in 1 or 2 touch, I should be able to lodge a complaint. That's what he expects. Again, easy to use platform, same thing. And as I said, whenever there is a problem, and if I'm not able to resolve him in very short time, but he wants updations. Yeah, not one slide only. So if you follow this basic rule while you design, and all these things can be achieved with digitalization. But then, if you achieve this, or if you follow these basic rules and design your system, then it can play wonders. Otherwise, a system digitalization can play havoc also. So basically, ensure your basic system in place. In case of, he needs to get connected with you, have multiple easy options to get connected, have personal touch, keep updated information with the agents, quick resolution to tools. If somebody has a billing issue and he approaches a person, the person, if he has updated information, we have made some HR dashboards, with which you won't believe the first time resolution is more than 85%. भाई आपका last year ये महीने का बिल इतना था, आपने इतना consume, you have a capacity to consume and you have done it earlier. ये आईना दिखाने से customer satisfy हो जाता है.
Hello, one second. Ma'am, can you please go and ask them to keep quiet? They're making too much noise in the back. Sorry about that.
Yeah. As I said, provide intermediate feedbacks. अगर सप्लाई नहीं जा रहा, कनेक्शन नहीं दे पा रहे हो तो बीच बीच में बताते रहो क्यों, क्या हो रहा है आपका. And then close the complaint. Don't leave it open. Close the complaint. Even if you get feedback, close the complaint and do RCA based on all these feedbacks. So simply what we have done at Tata Power across Mumbai, Delhi, Odisha, Ajmer is we have a call center, state-of-art call center with CRM backup, with omni-channel connectivity, all the channels which they flow into CRM. So the agent sitting there has updated information anytime. We have provided self-service option for lodging NCC complaint. We have mobile app where in 1 or 2 touch you can register NCC. We have missed call complaint. Just give a missed call, we will register your complaint. We have WhatsApp. We have social media. A portal. We have portal where online application is a very tricky thing. It's not a very easy thing to update. So we have done certain things so that the filling of application becomes easy. Payment option, chatbot. Even if it doesn't go through our digital media and visits our CRC, Customer Relations Center, there also digitalization help us. We have queue management system. We have paperless office. He doesn't do carry copies. Just bring originals. We scan it and we upload it in the system. We have e-bill facility. We have multiple bill payment options. We have in bill collection center, we have ATPM, anytime payment machines. So he doesn't want to stand in the queue, just go to the machine and make the payment, be it cash, check, etc., etc. Know Your Identity is a unique feature of our. Wherever we have data available, AMR or smart meters available, we provide them the detailed energy report in each slot of day, how much you have consumed. Slab, residential consumers are subjected to slabs. So, kabhi slab toss ho raha hai, you can decide. Alerts can go to them. PF violation, MDI violation can be done through this. Going beyond ESCO services, we have provided for industrial people, for energy solutions, dashboards, so that they can monitor at different levels. On the operation side, we have SCADA, DMS, OMS. GIS we have used very smartly. When a customer calls me, registers complaint, it gets into my CRM, connected with GIS, it goes to lineman. Once the lineman accepts, the customer gets SMS saying, boss, this is the link, you monitor my lineman, like Ola. Where is he? And he gets Google Map. Some smart meter devices where we use for meter reading, we are getting into OCR, optical character recognition. We have created one optical device where manual error-free reading can be obtained. We have dashboards I talked about. We have self-meter reading options, robotic process automation for payment reconciliation. We have AI/ML-based email response system. And this email system helped me in COVID period, where I used to get 2,000, 3,000 emails a day on the similar subject, on the billing. And we made a model and we should respond through that model.
Sir, you're now at 15 minutes.
Done.
So
We have theft protection logics, we have payment default prediction so that we can plan our recovery. We have digitized our recovery and disconnection process. People carry mobile app, they don't carry papers. So this is what we have done. And this provides us a good customer loyalty, and people learn through this, and I'm sure they will go to the next state, and they will demand more and more, and we will give them more and more. Thank you.
You know, one thing I was it's interesting, you talked about trust, and you talked about sharing information. I was on a flight recently, and before takeoff, they were announcing and telling all the customers, to people, especially people sitting in the emergency row, on what they should be doing. There was only one problem. I was in Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu. I can probably vouch for the fact that the people in the emergency row did not know a word of Hindi. Even if you put a gun to their head, they would not know Hindi. And the announcer was very genuinely, passionately telling them in Hindi what to do. So after the announcement was done, the lady walks away and the person says, "What should I do?" And they don't have a clue what was to be done. And so, when it comes to establishing trust, which is through value, communication in a language they understand is so important. Over to you, Anjali ji.
Thank you, sir. Has your electricity bill ever shocked you? Electricity does shocks, but did electricity bill ever shocked you? I'm sure everybody must have felt that, especially during COVID era. We all had seen that we got very high bills. So basically, how interesting it would be if we would knew our bills just at the start of the month. So this talk is all about predicting our bills with the use of AI for better customer experience. Before starting, I would like to discuss some quick facts about my company. I am from MPKVVCL. I've been serving this company from past 12 years. I'm an executive engineer over there. And we are covered by the commissionaries of Indore and Ujjain. And we have a total consumer base of 55 lakhs, almost 55 lakhs consumers, and total employee of 11,035 work staff over there. We also have installed almost 5.5 lakhs smart meters over there. I mean, 3.3 are installed and 1.5 is in pipeline. And for high-value consumers, we have installed almost 30,000 smart meters on the consumers. And then we also have a AMI cell, which works on some really cool analytic products through which we detect theft and tampering. And we generate almost 2 to 3 crores of rupees revenue every year from smart meter theft detection. Now coming to my case study, this is a case study. Basically, this is a case study I have done regarding bill projection. What we have seen is that our kWh usage is basically dependent on the weather or the temperature. So relating the temperature and kWh usage, we can use it to project our future bills. Like we see that our consumption increases during the daytime and it decreases during the night time. Similarly, our consumption changes on weekdays and weekends, then during hotter months or during more cooler months. So using these correlations between the temperature for past 365 days, at least 365 days, we are using with the help of AI, we are using it to predict our future bills. So, and we can also give our consumers a power to compare and control their bills. Like they can compare their bills of current month bill with the previous month bill, or current month bill from the previous year same month bill. So this will give a consumer better satisfaction. We can also notify the consumers when they can set some threshold limit, like this much, this should be our limit of my consumption, and if that threshold exceeds, then we can notify them through mail and through text messages. Then this, we can also improve the billing experience, like by showing some graphs or how their kWh consumption fluctuates with the temperature. So this case study is all about that. We can also give them some consumer consumers, like as their consumption increases their threshold limit, then we can divert them, point them to some energy saving techniques so that they can have their own customized energy saving techniques as per their usage and their plans and to meet their goals. So these are some of the these are the energy saving techniques given at our website which are easily accessible to the consumers. Now coming to trends and seasonality, like we see, as I said that there is a trend between the weather and the kWh consumption. So we have seen that there are 4 to 5 kinds of major trends which we can use to effectively predict or project our future bills. Like there is monthly trend, there is weekly trend, hourly trend, COVID trends, and holiday trends. In monthly trends, we see that month by month our consumption changes. Like in this, the fourth graph, we see this is a monthly trend graph. In this for any customer, let's say, in this we see that the consumption is at peak during February, and then again it rises in June, and then again it rises in December. Similarly, there is a weekly trend. We see that during weekends we tend to stay at home, so definitely our consumption increases. We use more appliances, so the kWh consumption is more during the weekends and is comparatively lesser during the weekdays. This graph shows that. This is the graph of weekly trend. Then these two graphs are seasonal trends, or we can say monthly trend. So in this, for this customer, when we see that there is a spike during the summer season, whereas for the customer 2, we see that the spike is during the winter season. So basically, it also depends on which city the customer is, of which city we are predicting. Like if it is a cooler city, then the kWh usage will increase during the winter months. And similarly, it is a more hotter city, then it will increase during the summer months. So these are the 4 to 5 kinds of trends which we are utilizing for training our model and for predicting our future bills. Now coming to model training, this is like the fun part. Let's see how we do that. So for input on this model, what we need is the usage pattern. We need the kWh readings for every 365 days. At 00 hours, just at 00 hours, and we can extrapolate from that. Then we will be needing the temperature for every hour for every 365 days, for past 365 days. Then we will be needing whether it is a weekday or weekend, it is COVID day or a holiday. We normally use binary coding to get that. Like we can use for weekend it is 1 and then weekday it is 0. Just like that we use for COVID and for COVID days and holiday days. So this is basically our input variables, and as an output, we get the actual usage, forecasted usage, total usage, actual cost, forecasted cost, and the total cost. Like suppose let's say our billing month is from 25. So when we will run our model by giving all these inputs, then we will get, like today I'm running my model, then we will get the input, we will get the output, my actual consumption and actual cost till today, and then my predicted consumption from today to 24th of March, and predicted consumption and my predicted bill. And the sum of both of these two will be total bill. I will show you in slides how it is looking on the website. And then there are some quick rules, like what we need for the input is past 1 year data. Minimum we should use past 1 year data for a better accuracy and better prediction of the bill. And for predicting, this is for past 1 year data is required for prediction of the bill and for training of the bill, and for prediction we will be needing future 30 days hourly temperature. So using these two variables we will get our projected bill. This is basically the technology stack of this model configuration and integration. In this, we use the weather data in Oracle database or any other database. And then we have the kWh usage data in AMI in-premise AMI database or any database, whatever we can use. These two inputs are fed in a statistical analysis tool where we use linear regression theorem for getting our model parameters, which we will be using further for predicting our bills. Then as the model runs, our parameters are saved in any database, or you can also retain it in Oracle, and then it is securely transferred to TIBCO and then further to Salesforce. Basically, these two are responsible for showing the figures on website or app wherever you want to. For using this, we also follow some model rules. If the accuracy is less than 65%, then we use the average of past 15 days. And this 65 number is used because this is the mean of the model R-square, which is the threshold for the prediction. We also avoid prediction for consumers. We should avoid prediction for consumers who are less than 30 days old, because in that case, the prediction might be way higher or way lower. So it will have a poor projection and low accuracy. Now let's discuss the possible risks and challenges in this model. So firstly, it is implementation issues. So see, there are a lot of software agencies involved, and also data analysis team, data engineering team. So sometimes coordinating between these teams and completing the given task on the time limit can be really challenging. Then there is also data quality issues. Suppose the meter, we have seen that basically this model is all about the correlation between the weather data and the kWh usage. But if the meter and the consumer syncing is not proper, if the meter has a dial rollover, or the meter changes, or meter gets defective, or it is tampered, then in such situation the link between the consumer and the meter is not accurate, and in these cases we might get a poor projection of the bills. Then also there are automation issues. See, this model is automated to run every month. It gets updated to run every month, and the bill projection changes every day for the remaining days of the month, billing month. Then there are outlier projection is also an issue, like sometimes the projection gets too high or too low. It can be because many consumers are seasonal in nature, and then many consumers have a very inconsistent pattern of electricity usage. In that case, projection can be less accurate or inaccurate. Then also level billing is also a challenge. For some consumers, we see that their billing is done on the average of the rolling 12 months. But our prediction is based on actual kWh usage. So in these cases also, we see that the projection is not that accurate. So these are basically the challenges we face in that. Now, this is a quick view of how it will look on the screen. See, this is in this the block 1. We see that this is how it appears on the app in my case study. So we see that in this, as you click for any consumer, this gets automatically refreshed at every 24 hours for better bill projection. And we see that suppose the bill of the consumer is like $66 for 23 days. And when you click on this view my bill projection, you will get the remaining projected bill, which is $22 for the remaining 6 to 7 days of their billing month. Similarly, there is a bill analyzer tab also, in which it can be compared, like here it is compared the bill of September month and October month. So we can also see that what is the basic differences, why the bill is lesser in October and why it was higher in September. If we click on that view bill analyzer, we can see what was the factors which were causing these differences. So this is how it will appear on the screen, and this was all about my case study bill projection. I hope you all enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very insightful, actually. I had one quick question, if I may. You showed a lot of this data, because I've worked on a project like that. That all that modeling you're doing, what is the end result of that? Do you use that data?
The end result is basically customer satisfaction.
So you're not using the data for any kind of projections from a perspective of buy versus generate versus curtail, demand response, none of that?
Sir, actually, no, we are not using
You're
that.
not doing that right now.
We are not using that. This is just my case study for
Gotcha.
improved customer
Customer
satisfaction.
service.
And
Very nice.
obviously, if the customer will be satisfied, then they will pay, and that is also beneficial for the utility. Because as a utility, I'm a utility person. As a
Correct.
utility, I faced that because I was once in a retail office. I have faced that customers are basically very unsatisfied. And once we satisfy them, especially the paying consumers, they will pay very easily. Just we have to satisfy them that this is the correct bill. And this is how we can, this is just one idea, we can satisfy them.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
After such an elaborate session, hearing Anand sir and Manoj sir and Anjali ma'am, it makes me feel that I'm almost in the position of Henry V. I know what I have to do, but I'm just wondering how to do it differently. The subject is almost the same. We are almost at the same as we speak about how consumers respond to utility services. What are the challenges utility have? But you know, there is a broader aspect. We are living in a utility world which is bifocal. That's what I say. We have utilities with best practices, as Mr. Salvi shared in a beautiful presentation. I've lived in Ajmer for 7 years, studied over there in Mayo. I can very well imagine what Tata has done in Ajmer. But then we also have a contrast of classical utility system, operating out of remote areas of the state, on contours or let's say challenging terrains of hilly areas and so on and so forth. Even it could be, I've seen in Bihar a lot of issues in terms of climate challenges and a lot of other aspects. You're fighting through that, and no one else other than a lineman of an electric utility, just as Madam shared from MPP KVVCL, or it could be any other board, or it could be Bihar State Electricity Board, or it could be South Discom and North Discoms of the world. That lineman will only come and resolve your problem. With that context, I want to actually grab your attention. Let me first start with a quick assessment of, you know, how I think it's not working. Okay, perfect. So let's first understand what kind of challenge we have. Just a picture of what everyone said through. Consumer today needs a service now to have easy onboarding. That's what we say. Now and easy onboarding. A service which is right at its spot. If I need an electricity connection right now, if any area of Delhi, could be outside at sector 28 of Gurgaon, it is very easy. I can just hop into an app and get through a process and do my Aadhaar card and other verification, and I can probably onboard in a very quickest manner. Someone will come and inspect, get the physical document, and I'm done. What happens if I'm at Deeg? What happens if I'm at some remote area of Bharatpur? What happens if I'm at some remote area of Malegaon or somewhere else? Let's just imagine that. I will have to walk to the utility office. So that's something what utilities have to now on a broader level do. First of all, create a mindset, then extend a hand to the consumer, and then understand how consumer can onboard fastidiously. So for an example, if you talk about having a service or need for service, customer needs it now. How can you provide a full bandwidth of different communication channels? It could be through mobile phone, it could be through physical center, it could be through message app, it could be through web app, and so on and so forth, so that he can have a better understanding of how the service would be and confidence to take the service. But the problem we have is most of the centers are at remote areas. You really have to walk miles to get through. It is a difficult challenge. The office hours are some stricter hours where you can't probably access the office. That's first. Second is onboarding. Onboarding is another issue. If you want to get a service, the plethora amount of documents you need to carry along with you in your bag, which would be also indefinitely mismatching. You can have your name on one document with something else, the other document would have some other name, and so on and so forth, specifically in rural areas, becomes even a bigger challenge. Utility, even if it willingly wants to give you connection, it becomes an even bigger challenge, I'm sorry. So that's second. Why can't we have a service like DigiYatra? Just as you have it on Terminal 3, you have scanned your face on a mobile phone. It's a magical service. That's the power of digitization. It's an immense power of digitization. You can scan your boarding pass, attach your Aadhaar card, just share it across, walk through. And it was magical, 5 minutes or 3 minutes kind of a walk, and you are through Terminal 3 and you're right at your boarding gate. So that's the power of digitization which we feel, and that's the way utility will upgrade in due course of time. But today what I want to actually share with you is that we at Research Triangle Institute are working with, I'm sorry, there's some battery issue with this. Okay, we at Research Triangle Institute are working in a remote area of Rajasthan, which is the area called Deeg. It's about 40 kilometers from Bharatpur, where CSC is operating a magical utility service, an upgraded utility services. And at Deeg, we are working not only in Deeg, around Deeg, with five subdivisions, we are operating a model which is a utility reform model. And that is, it's absolutely organic. It's not a public-private partnership. We are not doing any private initiative. It's a stakeholder model, a wider stakeholder model. It's even bigger when I see from a PPP standpoint. It's even bigger than PPP. Why? Because public-private partnership is one way you look at, but now what the model which we are trying to, we are operating for past 19 months in the area has a partnership with stakeholder. We have partnership with community leaders. We have partnership with employees. We have partnership. And that entire partnership is a kind of a non-revenue, but accountability, a reward, recognition, and capacity building partnership. So I'll come back to that, but what the problem is as we walk in to such kind of rural areas, what problem we see is the ailing issues are common. You have problems as far as incorrect billing, as Manoj sir said. There are ailing issues as far as poor collection systems. There are long queues. There could be a possibility of even elongated processes, but systems are there. Discoms have made immense effort in terms of bringing the system on board, and we must be thankful for that. We say that the system is not there. Systems have been there. Can you imagine one meter billing reading exercise, which used to cost a Discom 45 rupees, which we have accounted in a very audited manner, in 2011-12. One MRBD exercise, meter billing distribution and collection exercise, which costs a Discom at that time 45 rupees per bill, now costs only 4 rupees 50 paisa. And the fresh tenders which have come down are even lesser than that. And that's the power of digitization. You just go to the consumer's doorstep, take a spot billing, get the data, give the bill or by hand, and the collection can happen through any of the apps, wallets, or cash, or whatever you want to do. So that's the power which has come through. The second is, you have Bijli Mitra systems, where reporting and kind of communication as well as data, dashboards, everything has become quite transparent and easy to onboard. So that's another thing which has come through Discoms. The third is e-Mitra services, the citizen services partner, the CSC partnership program. CSC, which operates in Rajasthan by the name of e-Mitra, is an immense, it's one of the finest, governance at your doorstep kind of model. Government right at your doorstep. You can get any G2C, B2C service. G2C service is absolutely at free of cost, and B2C at whatever kind of 5 to 10 rupees of rate cards, which are genuine and recognized by the government very easily. So that kind of work has been, of course, smart metering programs, smart grid programs, and so on and so forth. Electrification, we also have renewable energy installations by Akshay Urja. So all that comes in a place, but then what happens is the dissemination, the consumer engagement, capacity building is something which is absent at the last mile.
Divesh, not to interrupt your flow, just being proactive here, you're at about 8 minutes now, okay?
Yeah, I'll just wrap up.
Thank you.
I just want to set the context.
No. I think you're doing a good job. Keep doing it.
Thank you. So that's what the Impargian model is all about. And so what we are doing in that area largely is that we are connecting with people, we are recording baseline, then doing action in terms of bringing that services entirely on a model of having training centers. After training centers, we are also kind of engaging the employees right at the field, then training them through in terms of having better performance as a dashboard. Further to this, if I cut the piece from the entire model on consumer engagement, what we've done is we've had a consumer desk. So that's what I want to kind of connect with Manoj sir's thoughts, that there has to be a desk. Even if you have systems on board, you must have a desk where consumer can come and have their resolution. So that desk is actually enabling digital environment. That's also enabling kind of smoothing the process. We have a messenger system. You have a new service connection issue, There would be a WhatsApp and a lot of other kind of communication which would be already following up the form so that you can have the connection at the spot, and later on the aggregation of the physical formats can happen. So first service and then compliance. That kind of work government is doing in partnership with the empowerment model. The second thing is very important where, new service connection, or let's say complaint management. Complaint management has been another major issues in rural areas. You call up to the call center and then again you are not getting the right kind of resolution. So there we have curbed the entire process by 50%. People come to the desk, or you might call us, we issue a docket number. The right spot where the problem has happened is communicated to the feeder in charge. The feeder in charge resolves the issue with assistance of the FRT, which is already in place. And then the resolution is communicated by phone. So that's another work where we are doing, kind of with larger efficiency. New service connections. New service connections, of course, there are possibilities where you can walk to e-Mitra centers. But we have curbed that process. We have built the confidence, forged the confidence on utilities. You can come to the utilities, submit your form. The entire track of your from a desk to desk is timelined. And if there is any further delay, we do the aging analysis and we escalate it to the relevant authorities. So by doing the finer work, ground level work, you can really have even larger impacts. And that is how we have seen kind of average hour interruption being curbing from 7.09 average hours in 2020 to 2.24 by 2022. And a lot of other data, we kind of confer more data around this. And when we survey about 140 consumers, just to kind of consume 2 more minutes, when you kind of communicate with the people at the last mile, what they are saying is even bigger. They say that with whatever we have saved now, we can invest more on education. We can further invest on skilling, we can invest on job and so on and so forth. So you're opening more avenues, access to market, which is even bigger. So that's another image of one of the Upabhokta Seva Kendra or consumer help desk which we have created over there. There are 3 registers where you can categorize your complaint and escalations are done and right at the spot. Another program which we did with even children where we try to create or establish or refurbish the respect of a utility official. It's very important. You must respect a utility official. If consumers can't respect a utility official who's doing the last mile for you, you can't have a utility which respects the consumer then. And then further to that, this is kind of a response we have got from different category of consumers. So a woman entrepreneur who's into a kind of a cooperative dairy, she's reciting the fact that we have easy access to now electricity connection. I can walk in to my dairy even at 5 a.m. because there are no jeopardized electric connections. Can you imagine a practice where people don't tend to pay a bill? 4-5 mahina, 4-5 months you've got your invoice, don't pay it. On the 6th month, get your meter burnt and say, I need a new connection. Those average billing connections have been entirely curbed. We have 100% billing, accurate billing in that area. So that, identification of local issues and then providing them solutions, training people at the back end, and then providing services right at the spot so that consumers can be benefited. The new service connection, actually, the turnaround time, which was even larger, we curbed it by 20-25%. Complaint management was curbed by 50%. And even more work has been done. So the last kind of recommendation I have, as part of my team, is that we need to have very stronger customer engagement formats where you can understand your consumer, you can provide them different, kind of large bandwidth so that they can communicate with you by broadcasting, by Munadi, by going door to door, by Janmanch, and a lot of other aspects which we have done, and I could not because of the constraint of the time, I could not show on the slides. The second is process and system adaptabilities. You have processes. Systems are available. Government has invested on them. It has to be carried forward and kind of connected to the consumer at the last mile. And the third is capacity building. Capacity building actually has immense potentials. And we are deploying a training center which the DISCOM itself says that you should, at free of cost, you should deploy it right at our XCN offices so that people can have better benefits. So proactive utilities with kind of even better skilled workforce can create a lot of impact around this. With that, I submit my point. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Divyesh. A lot of good material there, but really focused on engaging the customer. I once had a person come to my doorstep. in Denver, and he kept on discussing about how he's got this fantastic product he wants me to buy. Spends about 10 minutes telling me about the product, and after the 10 minutes, I told him, I said, thank you so much, but I cannot buy your product. He was selling me something made out of chicken, and I'm a vegetarian. So, so knowing the customer, knowing what they're looking for, and knowing what they're seeking is kind of the first step before you try to sell somebody something, right? So with that, I will thank you so much. Mr. Hunt, please. The floor.
So good afternoon, and thanks for being here today. I'll try and build on some of the themes that we've heard rather than repeat some of them, because I think they are touching something that I care about very much. So I'm going to start to talk a little bit about how we can use digital tools to connect to the hearts as well as to the minds. I'm going to talk a little bit about how digital tools enhance the emotional aspects as well as the functional aspects of customer experience. It's emotional connections through strategic platforms that will ultimately enable and empower customers and unify communities to adopt common goals with regard to energy consumption, sustainability, net zero, and other initiatives around the green agenda. Adding the emotional customer charge is just as important as building the infrastructure that delivers the electricity charge or the water, if it was a water utility. And we need to address these emotional needs just as much as we need to address the functional needs if we're going to unify 1.4 billion people to India's at 100 ambitions. And unifying communities around a common goal is really the theme of what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about the power of unifying a movement of people around something that they care about, and what do they need in order to do that. So that's generally the theme. I'll just move the slide. Is it the right hand button? Yeah. Thank you. So around the world today, the utility sector is already making an enormous impact. Building new infrastructure, developing new products and services, providing innovative technology, that is enabling clean energy and water services to be a reality. Regulators too are playing their part. They're advancing the short-term goals as well as the long-term goals of the sector, and that's a difficult job for a regulator, especially a commercial regulator where they tend to be focused around pricing more than future outcomes. So I think the regulators are playing a really critical role here, and the regulators in India are setting a benchmark on how to work with the sector in order to be proactive other than just reactive, and I really applaud that. And the DISCOMs are working tirelessly to advance integration, sustainability, renewables, innovation, security of supply. So absolutely on point there. This is where a company like ISUW comes in, who I work for, and there are other companies too focusing on similar things, of course, but we've been working with utility companies right around the world to provide a holistic CX platform, a holistic customer experience platform, because what we're finding is customers are frustrated by having multiple apps, multiple environments, multiple types of experience, some better than others. So providing technology in the context of a platform rather than just a discrete solution is an important component to this, and that's really what we've been focusing on. So we're providing a holistic CX platform that connects to the hearts as well as to the minds. It's a business experience platform that connects the overall experience, which means that we're not only focusing on the customer, but we're focusing on the people that serve the customer, and that could be people in a contact center, or it could be, very importantly, the people that are out in the field, the workforce. They have to have the same tools that enable you to serve the customer. I sometimes quote the Uber experience, and we've all used platforms like Uber. But what we don't realize is, as a customer, we get a really good app in our hand, but the driver has a really good app in their hand as well. And it's how those two things work in concert with analytics, with data, with insights, actually delivers that overall experience. So I think I've worked for utilities most of my life, and I know that we focused heavily on customer experience, and sometimes we've missed the importance of providing the right tools to the people that are in front of customers, whether they're on the phone, whether they're in front of them as a service engineer out in the field. So we've been very keen on developing a business experience platform that caters for all of that. And backing it up with deep analytics so that we can provide those insights and those important nudges that help customers change their behaviors over time. And nudging, it's an interesting word, nudging, but actually it's really important, is because generally we're lazy when it comes to utilities, except for when we see a bill that is high. And then we think, that's high, I want to do something about it. So we have to empower and provide insights around that. But sometimes you have to nudge a customer to join a rebates program, to perhaps investigate an electric vehicle option, to perhaps think about how they might use their smart meter data to change their behavior. So nudging is really important. The ISUW platforms have been specifically designed, as I mentioned, to unify the functional experience and the emotional experience of a modern digital energy and water consumer. It does range from the basic requirements of My Account functionality, billing and payment services, usage and consumption insights, service alerts regarding any outages or interruptions to supply, new connections, moving house, and connecting to smart homes, connecting to the things that you're starting to get in your homes that actually provide you with additional tools behind the meter to change how you might consume energy and water. And also the sort of technologies that you might be putting in your home to become a prosumer, the PV installations, things like that. You're starting to take on a slightly different role in this sector, rather than just being a consumer or a consumer who pays, let's call them the customer. You're starting to become a citizen that is emotionally invested in the future of this sector. And so that emotional investment is quite important. I mentioned already that I think the customer experience is important, but the full integration of the workforce into that experience is equally important. And those services need to be delivered across the same platform. So I mentioned the Uber experience, which we all quote quite often, but I am really impressed at how Uber have focused on the technology that the driver uses just as much as the technology that we use. And those two things working in concert with each other have created an environment that delights us most of the time. We can see when a car's arriving, we can pay it seamlessly, we can provide feedback, they can provide feedback on us. It's all very informative and intuitive, and we know what effect it's had. In addition to the things that I've mentioned, one of the things that I'm really excited about that we're developing at ISUW is to bring the electric vehicle into that mix as well. I mentioned the smart home, the smart city, smart buildings, etc. But the electric vehicle is a moving energy supply. The example in the United States with the Ford F-150 is quite interesting. The idea that it's actually a moving battery pack, a moving power pack. And it can not only help small businesses have power, so carpenters, plumbers, engineers like that have power on the move where they're going to work on site. But if you have an interruption to supply, you can plug it into your house. I'm so impressed with that. And then when there is supply, you can recharge the vehicle at a time where you get the optimum tariff. The whole thing is that the grid and the vehicle are completely integrated with one another. And I think if we observe what's going on with e-mobility at the moment, or electric vehicle infrastructure, we're seeing lots of investments in all the key components, but we're not really seeing anything that brings the whole experience together. We're seeing cars be developed that have an app, a Tesla app, or an app from another manufacturer. We're seeing utility companies offer tariffs that lend themselves to EVs, but we're not seeing all those things joined up in a way that us as consumers can make those important decisions. So the EV side of things is really important into the overall experience. So ISUW has built a fully integrated energy, vehicle, home, and business experience platform. It brings all of these aspects together in one seamless experience. And this is what customers are now expecting. We expect it from our retail platforms, and we expect it from our finance experience that we have. We kind of expect everything to talk to everything. but we've been a bit late to the party in this sector. I think we provided piecemeal solutions, but we haven't provided that integrated platform. And I do use the word platform quite a lot because although we're providing discrete products, the reason that Amazon works so well is Amazon is a platform company. It brings together supply and it brings together demand into a simple experience that we all consume. And I think that's important. I'm absolutely delighted that ISUW is partnering with some of the most amazing companies in India. Please visit our booth to go and have a look at some of those. But there's a couple of companies. These are just some examples. So although I've been talking about a platform and products, the native mobile app is of course an important feature in all of that. It's where most of us would go first if we wanted to look for something. But this platform has feature parity across all the channels. This is just one channel, but the idea that it's a smartwatch or a smart mobile device such as this, or it's a web portal, or it's some other channel that is useful to yourselves is important here. So feature parity across all those channels is important. And as I mentioned before, we're so proud of the work we're doing with our partners in India, that India is now setting the trend that the rest of the world is looking at. And I really applaud that. This is a great testament to the ambitions that the government has set, the response that the industry is providing in this country, and the technology that is underpinning it. So just to summarize, my last slide. I can't make it work. Here we go. It hasn't formatted too well, but I'll just summarize. So ISUW is leading the way in providing one unified business experience platform, unlike no other. It's transforming the Indian utility ecosystem, but it is also doing that in many other countries across the world, including the US, Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. And we are meeting customer expectations of today's and tomorrow's consumer. We are accelerating digital transformation and streamlining the way customers and workforce engage with their utility. We are innovating and transforming at a pace with a dedicated team focused to this sector. We're engaging, educating, and empowering customers, and I use those words quite carefully. Engagement, education, empowerment. It's not just about engagement, but it is a fundamental part. And then it's about providing insights and education and nudges to say, do you know what, you could do this? Do you know how you're using that? And then it's empowering them to actually become actors, to make decisions, to make choices. So engagement, education, and empowerment are three really important points. And these points are really important if you want to win the hearts and minds. You have to be able to satisfy the customer's experience, both functionally and emotionally, in order to win. I mean, we've all been there. We've downloaded an app. We're full of hope. We launch the app, and it's either very buggy or unreliable, or it simply doesn't do anything. But it has ticked the box that a company has said, we've got an app. It has to empower the customer to make choices and deliver services, and empower the workforce, of course. We are working across the full value chain, so the mass market domestic customer is fundamental, of course, but so is the enterprise customer. We've got to provide people who are large consumers of energy and water to play their part too in reducing or managing their energy and water requirements. It's only by bringing in the enterprise or industrial and commercial customers that we'll really make a dent in the sustainability and net zero ambitions that we have. The other thing that I'm really quite excited about, and it's an early stage, is we're starting to enable the water energy nexus. You know, normally water and energy have kind of generally follow independent paths, but actually water companies are one of the largest consumers of energy. And water is a problem, and we use it once and throw it away. So, you know, how do we create a circular economy in water, and how do we create how do we adopt renewable energy in the electricity side of things? But importantly, how do we join those together in a circular economy so that we can potentially generate energy from our water, you know, as we dispense with it? Or how can we turn wastewater into biomethane or other sources of energy? So that circular economy is a really exciting part and something that we'll see more of. And most importantly, coming back to my original point, and I'm just going to wrap things up now, But coming back to my original point about how do you win the hearts and the minds as well, we can win the mind with good functionality, with money-saving opportunity, but if you can really provide the tools that allow a customer to be fully engaged, fully immersed, then you start to win their heart as well, and then you start to get the power of a movement. And those of you who are interested in this kind of things, you realize that when you've got a movement of people, you've really got a force for change. So I'm really excited about that for the future that we have. So please come and visit the ISUW booth. You can't miss it. And we'd love to hear your own journeys about your own innovation and your own ecosystems and your own changes that you've done and share that experience with us. So thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much. Last but not the least, Oracle doesn't need no introduction. Patnayavu, Asandu.
Thank you all. I'm sorry? Yeah. I mean, the esteemed panelist had made the things easier and tougher. You know, I mean, when I was thinking I was the last one, I mean, it's always tough and sometimes easy. You know, I mean, like I was hoping that one shouldn't be kind of, you know, not talking about the platform, not more talking about the dashboard, the experience, the tools. I mean, like, you know, I was hoping somebody should miss something so that I can talk about. But yes, the esteemed panelist has covered it all. But the things, you know, I mean, it has really helped me, of course, kind of, you know, to save the time. And then also to set the stage, you know, I mean, what I would be talking about. So we are talking about experience. You know, the tools, the tackles for the utility, for the consumer is very, very important. But the experience comes when you get to know your consumer. I mean, the utility gets to know your consumer. To have that, there need to be an engagement, you know, and for having that engagement, you need to know your consumer. So how do we know our consumer? I'll try to give a glimpse of what we've been doing in Oracle Energy and Water, and how we have been helping the utilities globally in doing that. All right. I don't want to spend much time on this slide, but then I would like all to please take a note on the right-hand side of the column. We all know about what Oracle Energy and Water does, but then on the left-hand column, I would like to stress upon that we are one such organization who spends the most in R&D. So the innovation comes through these. For the left-hand corner, I would stress upon the second box, which is 3 trillion. I'll kind of, you know, come to that, why this particular data point is so important. And of course, like, you know, serving 175 utilities is fine. All right, okay. So OPAR had been a startup, and then we came to a part of Oracle, bigger Oracle Energy and Water in 2015. Since 2008, OPAR had been kind of, you know, serving the consumers, the residential consumers. Till now, we have kind of, you know, delivered 1 billion home energy reports. You would get to see what we are talking about. But then I go back to my statement which I have made, that how do you know your consumer? When we are talking about knowing your consumer, we need to understand, you know, consumers are not like us who know what kilowatt hour is. What kind of, you know, what would be the load factor? What is the PLF, or what is the kind of, you know, power factor is? What they would like to know, which is very simple, easy to understand, at the same time, very, very user-friendly. Kind of, you know, as George talked about, not many platforms, not many apps, one single touch, and then kind of, you know, easy to understand. That really kind of, you know, brings that connect. And of course, the other important thing is also about giving an experience, the trust. The consumer need to trust the utility. So how do that? Kind of, you know, I mean, generally a perception of any of the utility to the consumer is that fine, you know, they bill it as ma'am talked about. That, you know, I mean, like, the first thing is that how do they recover the bill, and if otherwise they disconnect the kind of, you know, thing. So, all right, so fine. So now we talk about we are transitioning. Now we are in a state where we are transiting. Kind of, you know, we are the sector is on a transition. We are talking about so and so of DERs, as kind of, you know, Venkat talked about consumer becoming prosumers, where they are making generation at their rooftop. they are going for electrification through EVs, green electrification, I mean to say. But then, at the same time, utility needs to have one such platform which can integrate all these and then have a real-time data for both the utility to better load management and then for the consumer to better understand what is happening at what hour. I'm sorry. Like when, what, and how. So they need to communicate that to the consumer, and that's how they can be a part of this journey. They can be kind of, then it comes for call for action. Until unless the consumers, the part of this particular journey, like the smart meters which we talk about how to deploy, how fast we can, but we hardly talk about at the premises at which the smart meters are installed. What it is there for the consumer. That's where we need to understand, and that's what Oracle Energy and Water does the best. Yep. So what we do is we take 3 steps towards this particular journey, and what I think is that it is in customer engagement which ultimately leads to the digitization of the utility, which is the broader goal of, and kind of, for any such utility. So the first is energy awareness, where we educate, empower to let know the consumer what it is. There is one such survey which I remember done by Accenture, which talks about 9 minutes. A person spends around 9 minutes in the whole year to look into its electricity bill. As it has been earlier speakers talked about. The bill comes, what's the amount? Is it high, low? All right, and then pay it and such. So this is what it is. So what we have. So there are 2 ways to look into it. One, we have this 9 minutes to impress or to communicate what we want to. When I say we, I mean to say the utility. And then the second is how we can engage this customer to increase this 9 minutes to maybe 9.5 or 10. And what are the tools? How easiness is the criteria which kind of, plays a vital role. So with this, when automatically the consumers are aware of, they are more energy literate, then becomes, the scaled adoption becomes very easy. So when I say scaled adoptions, it's like, when the whole utility consumer base talks about go for a smarter appliances, go for a smarter AC, refrigerator schemes, and then kind of, when these 2 stages are happened, then automatically kind of, we will talk about the automation which the utility has the ultimate goal to. So kind of, that's how. So this is a journey, as I said. So, Anant talked about, so it is about, there are different types of, so now I'm talking about smart meters, which is kind of, creating the experience. So Anant talked about, there are different kind of segments of people who adopt in different phases, which is like, I believe it is the diffusion of innovation theory, which is in 1962 by Robert Edwards. So it is about, it is generally, this is a survey which was done on technology or new technology adoption or market survey, where you see there are peoples which is like 3.25 or 6.25, I believe. I don't remember the numbers. So yes. So we talk about, so according to the diffusion of innovation theory, so there are different, depends on the characteristics of innovation, characteristics of individual, and channel of communication. So channel of communications plays a very, very vital role in terms of kind of, having this adoption of technology in a wider scale. But in terms of now coming back to the utility, electricity, smart meters, deployment area, so what we have seen that 2.5% only go for the innovators. They are called, go ahead, pro bono, kind of, go ahead and deploy the smart meters. Then 13.5% are the early adopters. 68% are the majority who kind of, after early adopters and innovators go through these technology advancement. And then there are 16% who are laggards, and so this use of technology kind of, plays a very, very vital role in communicating and kind of, going ahead and successful implementation of these. So, all right. So what we do, okay, I think, fine. I wanted to have, this is an old, all right. So how we do, I mean, I wanted to keep it to the last, but then it has come, so I'll tell you. So what Oracle Energy Water OPAR does, and what we do is like, when I started saying that to understand the consumer, the easiness, and that's where we just don't provide data points. We just don't provide, dashboards and numbers to the consumer, but also we try to nudge, as George talked about. We try to repeat, and this is a continuous process. It can't be just 6 months and done, and it can't be. It's a continuous process which you need to let know. Smart meters is a new thing. The consumer need to know what are the benefits on a continuous basis, and that's what we do, is that we take these data which I talked about, 3 trillion meter data, that's where it comes here, like, the granularity, where in the way we communicate, where the way Oracle Energy and Water communicate through the utility to the consumer, along with the behavioral science. Behavioral scientists come in picture to make this as the easiness of communication to the consumer, to better understand what it has been, and then to build a reputation or a trust for the consumer. All right, this is a little, but then again, it is a kind of, AMI strategy where the OPAR AI talks about. All right, so this is what we have found out, for a smart meter deployment, and when it is a journey, it's a journey where we come in picture right from the day when the smart meter is installed at the consumer premises, to educate them, to let them know what are the energy insights are, what program they should go for if they want to, high bill alerts, as kind of, Anjali talked about, there are thresholds, so the way telecommunication was, the mobile service was in 2002, 2003, or early 2000, maybe we are in this place for the electricity distribution utility, where yes, the bread and butter is supplying of electricity to the consumers, but then the value-added services, which we are talking about, will play a very, very vital role, including generation of marketplace. So this is what we have talked about, maximizing, if we talked about the smart meter involvement, what we have seen is that this is the kind of crux of what, when we come in picture, we help the utility, and this is where we engage, educate, engage, and innovate the utility, and of course empower the consumer. So this is an omni-channel like any other. We are no different, we are no great, but yes, then we know how the consumer behaves. The behavioral science comes in picture. That is in kind of, upper age, or the understanding which we have. So yeah, this is home energy report, which I started off. So this is what we talked about. So this is what we talk about, and I believe Venkat, Anant, you are one of those Excel, being Excel energy. So we are, you are our, indirect, direct kind. So home energy reports, the 3 bars which you see, talks about peer-to-peer comparison, how somebody is performing. It is not always that it is about saving of money, but then being in the top always counts. And that's how the behavioral science comes in picture. That's how, these are the nuances, these are the behavioral science which comes into picture and helps, getting the granularity. Anjali talked about, last month, Mr. Salve also talked about last month bill versus, this month bill. Well, there is a soldering month or seasoning month, but if there is a change of season, if we talk about April of 2023, versus April of 2022 might be a better comparison than that of March and April. So that's kind of, these are the insights and easiness through which the consumer can navigate in many multiple actions. What we have derived till date, this has been some results. Last but not least, the experience which we were talking about, the theme of this, 95% satisfied consumers. And this is what is about, which is going to matter in days to come, weeks to come, how much consumer are satisfied with the utility, how much trust they have. And in our program in Delhi, we did run a kind of, consumer engagement tracker survey. And in that, it was a third party. And then there was an 18% hike in the trust level for the consumer. I mean, that is which we are talking about with the smart meters, with the AI, ML coming in pictures. So these are the things which is going to enhance the experience and ease the load for the utility and enhance the experience for the consumer. So that's all for me, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sabyasachi. That was, having done quite a bit of work in data science, and I think when you guys started way back when, the combination of data science, computer science, and behavioral science, that intersection brings about tremendous value. I think you alluded to that as well, George. So that's a very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for sharing that. Mr. Rahman, a couple of areas. See, I know you came in a bit late, but what we have done is we have gone through and heard from our esteemed panel on several areas relating to, focused on the digitalization and how it impacts the customer exchange and the customer interaction perspective. There's a couple other topics that Reggie had put on the topic list. And one was around privacy and security, and one was around reliability, the SAIDI, SAIFI, KD. Would you like to share a few thoughts on that from a customer perspective? So please come and give us your thoughts. So Mr. Rahman, welcome, sir. He's Chief Technology Officer of Hitachi Energy. And take it away, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Anant. Sorry for coming late. I wish there was a digital twin of myself. Why I say so? I was actually in the other session in parallel. And this is exactly the case of how a digital twin can be there, physically there and digitally here to manage both the sessions. But thanks, Anand, for accommodating. I just finished my talk there and then came here while that is still going on. Also, this is a good example of metaverse, we say. Not only the digital twin of myself, but as a metaverse environment. So I come here, I talk to you, I interact with you, and I also answer your questions. So that's how the future of user experience is going to be. As prosumer, I just heard in the last session about the prosumer, and also I'm sure the other speakers have talked about prosumer, how almost each one of us in future, they are going to be prosumer, right? Not only consuming energy, but also producing or providing energy. As a household, we may have rooftop to generate energy, rooftop solar, and also store energy. We may have a battery storage at home, but we may also have a vehicle, electric vehicle, which will store energy. We can sell it when we are not at home, or maybe there is a crisis and we get a good price and we sell our vehicle stored energy to the grid. I think there comes this blockchain. So as user, as consumer, as prosumer, how do I do it very effectively? Use the blockchain to have a smart contract wherever I am and just make a contract and then sell the energy to the grid, to the consumer, end consumer, which I don't know, but sitting somewhere else. So that's one. As user, so I behave like a user, although I come from a technology company. But this is how it has to be translated into the user experience, not only as individual user, but also as organizational industry user, infrastructure user. Another thing, as we are all aware of, the carbon neutral target, the net zero vision 2070. So our country has declared 2070 as year of carbon neutral target achievement, and there are many companies, they have announced 2050. There are companies, even hydrocarbon, oil and gas companies like Reliance, they have announced 2035 as carbon neutral. Just imagine that their core business is hydrocarbon, but they want to be carbon neutral by 2035. So there are many companies and country also, we have interim target of 2030. So achieving, for example, 500 gigawatts of renewable energy. And so again, when we talk about 2070, 2050, 2035, many of us will not be there either in the profession or whatever way. But we should not be complacent because the actions they have already started. We have already started implementing the carbon neutral vision, the strategy, renewable energy, energy efficiency. So as user, as organization, we have done that. So from the carbon neutral vision for the country, for the organization, for the industry, utility, but also it is going to come to our community. We live in community, maybe residential complexes where someday we would say that let's make our community carbon neutral by 2030, 2035, yeah? Not only that, household, we may say that, okay, let my household, my family become carbon neutral someday, right? So this is how we can also teach our generations, the next generations, about the climate goals. From family to individual. So I would say that, okay, I want to be carbon neutral, right? Whatever I do, I go to office, I make travels, business travel, I drive my car. So I would like to measure my carbon neutrality when I am neutral. Or maybe I am negative, yeah? I am providing more green to the society. I think that's how the user experience would be in future, that as country, as organization, industry, as community, as family, as individual, I need to know where I am in terms of carbon neutrality so that I can take some action. So not just the energy, because we all know that our energy meter somewhere in the corner of the house or building where we never go, very difficult to go and see what's happening, yeah? So there are always debate that smart meter, okay, ultimately we have to pay for it, so why should we have smart meter? I think there was one gentleman from Germany, he said, okay, Germany people are not, worried, or they are not interested about smart meter because they said somebody has to pay for it. But I think we know that in our household or in our community, so there is great scope of reducing the energy consumption, because many a times we leave something on, we don't know, still, the meter is running, it's rotating, yeah? So, but having this handy, having this in real time on my mobile, so I should be able to monitor that, okay, why the energy is consuming now, I am not at home, nobody is at home, but still the meter is running. So why is that? Something is, wrong. And there are, I know that there are innovations in that area that just by having your connectivity to the meter, they can find out whether it is your washing machine or oven or heater which is on, yeah, so that you can take action. And also, not only the energy efficiency consumption, but also I would like to know today or maybe in last 1 week, last 1 month, how I have contributed to carbon neutrality. Yeah, so I should be able to monitor in a real-time basis. I think that's how the user experience is, and very important that with this targets year, very objective target 2030 and also interim target 2025, it's all about how we measure this improvements in the targets in real time. So that's where the digitalization plays a role. Many times people just say that, okay, for the sake of technology, digitalization, we should use it. But that's exactly the key, that we get the thing in real time. Very simple example of app-based taxis. So today we are able to do in real time booking, where the driver is. Earlier it used to be that you book a cab, and you call him, he would say that, okay, I'm just 10 minutes away, but he's maybe somewhere 1 hour away, yeah? But today we are able to see that, and we get in, we arrive, we know when we are going to arrive in the destination, we pay, so everything is digital. I think it's a very simple example that has to be also extended, replicated in the energy space, in the carbon neutral space where we know everything in real time, what's happening, and then how we can contribute. So this is what I wanted to say. Maybe now you will have Q&A or whatever. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciated your thoughts and insights because you did point out something that it is so vital. There are two things about the energy transition to net zero that we all need to deeply and very thoughtfully think about, thoughtfully pay attention to. The first thing is the first wave of smart grid. They started in 2008-9 timeframe, triggered primarily by in the US with ARA grants and other countries through investments. But for most practical purposes, the first wave of smart grid was what? Primarily smart metering. And utilities got to put their their toe, so to speak, in the water and test what it is like to engage the customer. But most of the customer engagement in that first phase was about marketing. This is what we're going to tell you, what we're going to do, and driven by several factors, including customer advocates, as well as local public utility commissions and several regulators and policy makers they engaged. Two utilities that I can compare in the United States, neighboring utilities. The first utility rolled out the customer portal before rolling out their smart metering. The second utility waited to finish rolling out all their smart meters and then went on to engage customers and enroll customers in the customer portal. You can guess what was the result of what was the difference in the result. The utility that rolled out the portal first got a tremendous success in feedback in terms of customer response, in terms of the customer involvement, in terms of customers trusting them with their data, while the utility that just rolled out the meters first and then waited for later to engage customers to roll out the customer portal, right? That utility had far less success because at the end of the day, I heard several of our our panelists actually talk about trust and new business models and engagement and value. But at the end of the day, you can show all these shiny objects to customers and hope they will come and they will buy what you are trying to sell. But trust is established by a clear demonstration of value and by a clear perception of that value. It doesn't matter, I can tell you till my face turns blue how much value I bring, but unless you perceive that value is there and it brings value to you personally, right? You are not going to believe and buy what I have to sell. And that is why, as we heard from one of the esteemed panelists, personalize the engagement. And I think behavioral science and personalizing that engagement and making sure that as utilities are engaging customers and understanding customers and listening to customers, right? They have to make sure that these customers that they're engaging and listening to, that they are letting the customers speak for themselves and not influence it the other way around. And therefore, when you offer services to those customers, as Mr. Salvi talked about, to provide, to improve the margins, to improve the offers, and so as to make the business more profitable, you will have a customer base that is already educated, empowered, enrolled, and ready to be a partner with you in their journey moving forward. I think we heard a lot of great points from all the different speakers. Usually what I tend to do in these kind of occasions is to have a Q&A and also have an open discussion on some of those points. But because of lack of time and out of respect for the next panel that is starting soon, I'm just going to quickly summarize what I thought I could take away from some of the valuable input from each and one of you. If I have missed something that you said that is important, I will ask for my apologies. But I think Elad, you talked about that openness, right? You know, customers valuing the service quality. In fact, when I was with your ex-CEO, Mr. Moshe, and I was doing a workshop, leading a smart grid workshop with him, Mr. Moshe, and I was talking about demand response and customer engagement, and Mr. Moshe turned around and said, Anant, do you realize that many of the customers we send electric power to, they're not our friends? And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So what I'm saying is that it's a very, you have to engage the customers and you have to provide them value and make sure that that value is perceived in a very clear way. Mr. Salvi talked about the customer caring about that bill. You're absolutely right, sir. Because at the end of the day, the customer cares about the bottom line. What is the bill? What's the value of that bill? How is it going to make a difference for me? Has it gone up or gone down, right? And how is digitalization helping in the personalization journey, so to speak? Anjali, yes. Yeah, 1 second. Anjali, you spoke about the customer being shocked by the bill. I don't know, I hope you've never done that, and I hope no utility does that. One utility did do that. The results were not very good. But the trends, you know, that you showed of customer billing and things like that. Divyesh, yours was very insightful as well. And George, you talked about that emotional value, the emotional intelligence and engaging that customer. And Mr. Patnaik about the combination of behavioral science, data science, and computer science that brings about the value. I was very impressed with the R&D investment that you guys are making, so looking forward to hearing more about that. I will close with what I started, which is that at the end of the day with the customer, it's about one thing. Understand the customer, know what they're expecting. The basic expectations is very simple, very basic, but customers of today are not, and the future, are not the customers of yesterday. So as Mr. Rahman pointed out, that as we bring about this smart grid and energy transition and everything, let us not forget that some very basic elements may change. Think about this for a second. People talk about HVDC, right? In the HVDC world, for example, reliability is not measured in terms of customer minutes lost, is it? It is measured in terms of the energy not served, the energy not delivered, right? So as the energy transition rolls and super grids come about and all these different elements of the grid change, right? Automation, communication, in all the two-way communications are all great, but transformers are going to change, breakers are going to change, the hardware is going to change, it's going to become smarter and better, with, you know, it's going to shrink in size and provide greater value and be able to be resilient with weather changes. When those things happen, customers have to clearly understand the value that the utility is bringing and why the utility is investing in the energy transition and the grid of the future. With that, I will close. Thank you so much for the panelists. Thank you so much for the audience. I know we ran a bit over, but thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Now I would request Mr. Manoj Salvi to please receive his. Ms. Anjali Vishwakarma. Mr. Divyesh Kumar Sharma. Mr. Akilur Rahman. Mr. George Hunt. Mr. Sabyasachi Patnaik. Now I will be felicitating Mr. Anand. Now I would request all the speakers to please stand for a group photograph. All the speakers are requested to come forward for the group photograph.